And I also want to give you an update on a story we did last week. You'll recall that we talked about the book Gender Queer, which is a graphic novel / comic book found in many American public high school libraries that is full of straight up pornography, nudity, sex toys, graphic descriptions of sex, very inappropriate for children. But it is flown under the radar because it's about trans and queer, so therefore it's beautiful and sacred. This is in our local public school library, the Essex High School Library. And the mom who shared it with me made a complaint with the police because it appears to violate Vermont statutes against providing indecent or obscene material to a minor. If you haven't seen last week's show, please go back and watch it. If you think, just looking at these two pictures we've got up on the screen here, we put up two of the most graphic. That's not even the half of what's in that book. If you think you know this story, you don't know it. You haven't seen this other stuff. Go check it out. Here is what the chief of police in Essex had to say to our mom who was going to file a complaint. And I want to note here, this is not a criticism of the police chief. This is not his call. Not a criticism of him. He writes, I wanted to let you know that I have an answer from the state attorney. In our state, that's what we call the district attorney. And also thank you for dropping off the book for me. I shared your email in the attachment with their office on Friday morning. The state's attorney has informed me that they will not prosecute this matter. They believe it would be difficult to satisfy the definition of, quote, harmful to minors, as that is defined by the statute. The material has to appeal to the prurient, shameful, or morbid interests of minors, be patently offensive to the prevailing standards of the adult community as a whole, and lack serious literary artistic value. This is a high standard and would be difficult to meet. Therefore, the police department will not investigate nor become involved further in this. He does go on to suggest that her next best course of action would be to make a complaint to the school board. I'm afraid that the police chief and the state's attorney is right. I'm afraid that here in liberal leftist Vermont, that this kind of graphic pornography involving children probably does not offend prevailing adult community standards. This is just nothing about this material does not appeal to the prurient or morbid interests of minors. Nothing about it doesn't appeal to that. But if it violated community standards, it probably wouldn't be in our schools. Don't ask me what to do about this. I don't know. Do I take that to mean then that if I took photocopies of the 23 pages of this book that I shared on the show last week with their graphic sex, and I stood outside the Essex High School or the South Burlington High School, and I handed that shit out to the kids, I take it to mean that in the state's attorney's eyes, I am not giving obscenity to minors. I'm not giving out kiddie porn. What I'm doing is legal and wholesome and in accord with community standards, and I will not be arrested and charged. Is that correct, state's attorney? Maybe I should write and ask, actually.
For more conversation on the dark and disordered psychology that shapes today's cultural and political left, subscribe to our weekly audio podcast on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Google Podcasts, and virtually anywhere else you get your podcasts. Let's learn to recognize these dynamics and call them what they are. Subscribe to Disaffected to learn how to break the spell.